Why belly up?
This is the game. It's cat and mouse.
Smoked a turkey.
Yes. He is down. He is freaking down.
Said he shot an absolute giant.
Fall obsession, baby.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another Fall Obsession podcast episode. I am Sam with Fall Obsession. Sitting next to me, you guys know him if you've been listening before. That's Nick Powell, our media production manager. What's up, Nick?
Hey, what's up, Sam?
Hope that you guys have enjoyed some of our recent week's episodes. We've been trying to. Seems like we've been recapping a lot of hunts and stuff in recent weeks, and it's been pretty cool to hear a lot of guys' stories. So
yeah, it's about that time of year.
Yeah, hope you guys have been enjoying that. This week, we are going to be taking a little bit different turn for our podcast, a little bit untraditional for our hunting topics. We're going to step away from that slightly and dive into a little bit different world. If you guys have been listening before, you know that Nick and I are firefighter paramedics. We work for the same agency, and we're going to dive a little bit into that world today and talk about fire life of a firefighter, managing our busy schedules, kind of the entrepreneurship side of us having this side business, Fall Obsession. And we have another guest joining us today to join in on this discussion. He is also a firefighter paramedic that works with us, and he is also a business owner, an entrepreneur, and an author on top of that, and that is Mr. Tyler Carroll. Tyler, welcome to our podcast, man.
Thank you for having me.
Super excited to dive in and get into this, man. Like I said, it's a little bit different than what we're used to talking about, but I'm pretty excited. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to share another aspect for all of us with both our listeners and probably folks that follow you as well.
Yeah.
Talking about something a little bit different, so I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I'll say I thought it was pretty funny and kind of ironic that you're pulling on somebody on your show that has practically never hunted. So we'll see how this goes.
I think it'll be a good change of pace because I know it's going to be a little bit different, but there's a lot of similarities to what we do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it'll be cool to dive in.
No, absolutely.
For sure. Well, before we dive in deep, I know in the couple recent weeks that we've had here, we haven't really plugged any sponsors. I am going to plug one today, and that is Cinnamon Creek Ranch, because we are out here at Cinnamon Creek recording today. Normally, we're actually down at the bow shop, but today they got us set up here at the event center, which is pretty awesome. So if you guys are in the North Texas area or traveling through, if you're a bow hunter, come up here and check out Cinnamon Creek. They have an archery pro shop, indoor-outdoor ranges, a wild game processor, and the event center up here where we're at. So, and follow them on social media. You can see all the stuff that they offer. Really appreciate them letting us use their space today. So Tyler, I'm gonna let you kind of start the conversation just by introducing yourself and kind of give us just a little bit of background on you, and then talk about, kind of introduce your company as well, and how you fit into this mold of everything that we're talking about today.
Yeah, so again, my name is Tyler Carroll. I live here in the North Texas area, work with the same agency as Nick and Sam here as a firefighter paramedic. Used to be on Sam's crew, but I've recently got moved out to a different station. As far as kind of my background, I kind of come from a military family, grew up in the Austin area, bounced around a bunch during my youth due to that military lifestyle. Decided to join the military myself after a failed attempt of college, and was a medic assigned to an infantry battalion. The unit I ended up going to was the 173rd Airborne out in Vicenza, Italy. So I got to live in Italy for about 3.5 years, which was pretty sweet. While I was out there, we deployed to Afghanistan, deployed to Turkey, did multiple training rotations to Germany, the Baltic state regions, tons of different stuff. We were a very high up-tempo unit. I always tell people, like, within the big army, we were at the top tier within that, just below special operations. Whenever I was kind of thinking about transitioning out, wanted to possibly go the SF route, got selected, was married to my current wife. Even back then, she made it through the military with me the whole time, and we talked about what our future was going to be. And so I realized I wanted a little bit of control of my life and a little bit more stability. So she got accepted to North Texas, University of North Texas here, and got a communications degree. And since she followed me to Italy, thought it was fair that I follow her to North Texas, you know. So come here, and before I even made it here, I was like, well, crap, what am I going to do? I was a medic in the Army. A lot of people it's like, oh, I guess I'll just go back to school or move back home, kind of figure out what's going on. I knew I didn't want to just go right back to the Austin area. I left there for a reason, so I did not want to go back there and kind of fall into that same routine. So come up here, talk to some buddies in the military, because I always tell everybody, whenever you're in the military, all you talk about is what you're going to do once you get out or what you did before. And a buddy was like, hey, you'd be great for the fire service. I didn't know a single firefighter. None of my family was ever a firefighter. I didn't know anything about it other than the schedule 24 on, 48 off. Sounded really sweet, and that you had to be an EMT in order to do so. So I started looking up a bunch of places here in the North Texas area. One of the local community colleges was putting on a program like within the month of me getting out. So I got out January 7th, moved to Denton, Texas, January 11th, and started the fire academy like the 13th.
Oh, wow.
So like within a week of me getting out, I was in the fire academy and completely out of my element. I say completely out. Paramilitary organization, medic kind of lifestyle, so kind of same like-minded people, but I had no idea. Like within the academy, people were talking about what the difference between an engine and a truck were. I had no idea what that even meant. I didn't know what seat assignments were. I didn't know what riding backwards meant. I didn't know anything about the tools. I used tools growing up with landscaping and tree service stuff, and so I understood what tools were. I knew how to use them, but I had no idea what the job as a firefighter all encompassed, other than you go fight fire. And so within the first couple of weeks, using my GI Bill to put me through it, fell in love with the academy. I was like, all right, that's what I'm going to do, and was fortunate enough to get hired on pretty quickly.
Awesome. So tell us about your side gig.
Okay.
Because we're going to get into today balancing all these different things, and so let's kind of set the stage for us and tell us about the other thing that you got going on and how that evolved.
So yeah, after I got all motivated and got into the fire service and went all in with that, I just, like you guys, you like to stay busy and you get really pumped up and motivated about whatever you're doing, and all my attention was on the fire service. And so while on shift, I worked out as hard as I could. I trained and studied as much as I could to kind of learn all the aspects that our job offers. And on my days off, I'd try to go to training if it was available. But within that 24 on, 48 off, that 48 off, you can do quite a bit.
Yeah.
I tell people it's like you're working like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday constantly. So I always have a weekend. And at first, I just had a young kid at that time, and my wife was working kind of part-time, so I had a lot of free time. And in my free time, I like to do woodworking. I like to do projects around the house, but more specifically, I like to read and write and watch TV and kind of just chill, work out, all the stuff that most people like to do. But I really got into writing. Within my military career, I experienced quite a bit, and we can go into that in a little bit if you want. But what I realized is, with how scatterbrained I could be at times, writing was able to kind of help me focus on one thing at a time. I also tell people, like woodworking or probably even hunting, you kind of step outside of everything else that's going on in your life, and you're able to kind of just devote your attention to one specific thing. Well, with writing, you pretty much can focus on whatever world you want to create within that moment, whether it's fiction or non. But if it's your life, so more like a personal essay of some sort or just journal entries, you can kind of think about a certain event, emotion, idea, and really delve in to think about how you really have processed that. And it helps you kind of bring clarity to that moment and helps you just sort through what you may be struggling with within the decisions you may have made, what impacts they have, the lingering effects, what brought you up to that moment, or whatever it may be. And a buddy of mine recently just put out a post on Facebook and was like, hey, anybody have any ideas of wanting to write about something more than what Facebook or Twitter or any of these social media platforms allow you, and help create a site, kind of like a blog site? And I sent him this article that I'd wrote without any intention of sharing, and I was like, hey, this is what I have. And it was called Leaving the Battlefield Prematurely Departure, Leaving the Battlefield. I can't remember exactly what it's called.
Yeah.
Unexpected Departure. Unexpected Departure is what it was called. And so while I was in the military, and specifically in Afghanistan, I got hurt downrange, and I left before I wanted to. And so I kind of dive into those ideas. When I say I left before I wanted to, I got hurt. and that was a hard thing. And so we put that out there, and we kind of went mini viral within that community really quick. And it was the very first thing we ever put out. And we're like, man, what do we have here? Like, we thought we were just going to put out a little blog article that just helps people put something out there. And so we're like, well, let's focus on something more positive, because there was these stigmas within the veteran community of either these people have PTSD, they're broken, they like proceed with caution, like just we don't know how they're going to react if we talk about anything too sensitive, or they're placed on this pedestal and everything they say is like the gospel. And we're like, well, hold on, pump the brakes. Most of us are in that middle category where we could have gone either one direction at any given time within our career. If we allowed ourselves to spiral out and have no support system, we'd be right there in the gutters with them. Or if we literally focused that much on our career and kind of pushed everybody else out to the side, then we'd be put up on that pedestal just as much, because we could have possibly been there as well. But most of us care about our families and care about hobbies and careers, and so we kind of are diverse within all that, and so we're okay just being a good father and a husband,
Yeah.
And so we wanted to focus on these successful transition stories, and those successful transition stories kind of reached a broad category. We focus on guys who became lawyers, guys who were literally just stay-at-home dads, guys who opened up businesses, gyms, whatever it may be, and we're just like talking to just really good dudes that struggled, overcame, continue to serve, continue to move forward. And so we're like, all right, what do we have here? Like, we're just talking to people, and like it's building a lot of traction. So we like sat down and we're like, all right, I think we're gonna become a publishing company. So like we can share these stories to a wider range. We can really just kind of maintain the creative process, and we understand the people who are writing it, the authors themselves, and we can help shape these stories that much better and put it out there. And so we're like, well, okay, what exactly are we calling ourselves? Because the first time when we put out the blog site, we were Black Coffee Response was our name, and we kept getting confused with Black Rifle Coffee Company because it was like at the exact same time they just blew up.
Yeah.
And people are like, hey, you guys are Black Rifle Coffee? And we're like, no, we're Black Coffee Response, because all we do is just drink black coffee, and this is the outcome of it, we just write and do all this stuff, and we kept seeing the confusion. So we went up to my partner's house, and we brainstormed a whole bunch, and he's like, what about Dead Reckoning Collective? And this is where I usually give our little elevator speech of what Dead Reckoning Collective is. And so and your audience probably understands it if they have any military experience or land nav experience. Dead Reckoning is the military land nav term that describes the process of finding yourself on a map based off of a previously known location. And so in short, our philosophy is always to know where you are from where you've been. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of that transition thing. And then the collective aspect is like we are you, you are us type thing. It's like as a collective we can do this together. We help build you up. Once we built you up, you pull us up there with you, or now that we're up there, we're pulling up guys with us and stuff. And just like the fire service, the military is the same. As we always do better as a team, and so we really believe in that mentality. So we created a publishing company kind of on a whim, and we were like, well, we want to make sure we get it right. So my buddy and I, Keith Dow, were like, let our book be the first thing that we put out there, so we can understand what publishing means, what the distribution thing is, what shipping is, and all that stuff. And we put out a poetry book, which a lot of people are like, poetry in the veteran, like that doesn't make any sense. But if you look back in like the World War I times, World War II times, there's big poets: Hemingway, Vonnegut, Tolkien, C.S. Lewis. There's all these guys who are writers and poets that were also manly men that fought on the front line. And there's been this disconnect within the recent decades of poetry being very feminine and very soft and very frail, which it can be at times, and rightfully so. You're dissecting emotions, but as somebody who can be kind of brute, like the brains and brawn can be there as well. And so it's like we wanted to focus on that. It's like, hey, we can do some badass things, but we also can process those and sort through them and tell them in a creative way. And that's our way of getting putting that behind us so we can move forward.
Yeah.
And so within that, we've just kind of created a community that I guess all believed that those philosophies and understood kind of the direction that we wanted to head. And it's just yeah, it's gone. It's blown up, and we're very, very proud of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, like the riding side of everything, it's funny how, and I know that obviously we know a lot of the same people.
Yeah.
And ever since, especially when we were on the same crew, you had your thing, and I was involved in Fall Obsession.
Yeah.
And everybody would always tease us about when's there going to be a collaboration?
Yeah.
When are these two going to get together? And we're like, well, two different worlds.
Yeah.
But it's like this aspect, the coping almost aspect of it is very relatable.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about the writing and the poetry and that kind of stuff, and I know you've said to me before, how that helps you personally, bring stuff out or deal with stuff. Or I'm not as good with words as you are, but
No.
but and it's the same for us or
Yeah.
for guys like us who are first responders or who are former military. Hunting and the outdoors it is a different mechanism, if you will, of dealing with that kind of stuff. And there are so many programs out there too in the hunting world for veterans and getting folks like that who have been through a lot, getting them involved in the outdoors, because it's therapeutic and it for lack of a better term, it brings people back.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where I was kind of going at, is like, I'm sure your audience, if they don't know the term dead reckoning, but they understand land nav. Like I go hiking all the time, even with my boys and everything, and we explore around creeks and climb rocks, and we're outdoors, and it's getting away from the world that we're kind of living in right now, where everybody's on their phones and everybody's wanting to talk politics, or everybody's just kind of cruel to each other, or everybody has to stay 6 feet apart right now. So there's a lot of things that this world is kind of creating to keep us away from one another, where the outdoors somehow brings us together, one with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God, and if you're with other people, with each other, because when you're out there, you're almost putting yourself, you kind of become vulnerable to the elements, and within that kind of vulnerability, you got to trust that guy has your back, and trust that your training and your experience and your knowledge is going to be able to get you through whatever hunt I'm sure you have. And the outdoors are an amazing therapy session, I guess you would say.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And the writing does that too, because most of my writing personally is my own personal life, and how, like I said, like I sort through these things, and it allows me to go back into those moments in my life and like remember that, like, as weird as it sounds, like how the wind felt, how the birds did, how the trees swayed in the wind, and it's like all that stuff. We're constantly taking in all the stimulus when we're outdoors, and like, what is that trying to speak to us? Because I feel, and this can get all deep or whatever, but like we're part of nature. That's where we come from. That's where our roots are at. And so when you're out there, you're listening to everything, and imagine you guys, you're tracking what you're wanting to do. You become one with it. And so when it goes over to writing, it's like, okay, well, how do you share that where you're not just saying, I walked 10 miles and I climbed a hill and I overlooked whatever. It's like, no, it's like, I don't know. There's ways to do it.
Yeah, I think it's all about how you process it, because right now we live in such a divisive state, all the time. There's people on Facebook that are arguing behind their computers, but they're not even coming to a conclusion because they believe so much in whatever they're arguing about, and usually it doesn't even matter. And we're just constantly scrolling on our phones, like you said, and getting stimulus from that, when in the outdoors we're getting, like you said, it's helping you process, and writing is a good way to do that. It helps you pay attention to the details and stimulating your mind to, okay, well, how did I feel when that wind hit me, or whatever, whatever.
Yeah, it's very like meditative in some sense,
Absolutely.
And I like I said, I always like being outdoors. And I guess one thing that I kind of realized whenever I was driving over here, like, how are we doing this collab thing, because they do, we overlap in everything, and it's through the first responder or veteran community, and hunting community kind of overlaps that too. We just kind of took over the kind of creative and writing part of it. But I guarantee there's hunters out there that write. You know, Steve Ranelli, I know he writes.
For sure.
There's a handful of guys out there that write, and a lot of people will go on big old hikes just to write about those hikes and travel writing. You know, those are all real things. But your name is what kind of made me see this connection, was this obsession, because as like a firefighter, we become kind of obsessed within that service. We become kind of obsessed within that job because of how important it is, and how much other people rely on us, and
how much we rely on each other.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like an error-free job. You know, like we can't mess up, and so we have to keep each other accountable. We have to keep ourselves accountable, and yeah, there's just so much passion in there. At least there should be, and so the standards need to be high, and people need to be held accountable. And so, but you become kind of obsessed with it, especially within like the personalities that job kind of pulls in. Yeah. And then, okay, now you've become kind of obsessed with hunting as well. And then I've become very obsessed with the literary world and writing and everything. And so the fire service kind of creates these personas, or at least attracts these personas, and then it kind of amplifies them to like pull that obsession into different spots. And that's how you guys have become kind of obsessed, quote unquote, within your world. I know I have in mine, and it's like I can talk to anybody about writing as long as they want to. And it's like, but I can also do that about the fire service, and it's because it's just there's just so much passion. And I hear you guys talking about it, the hunting all the time, and it's like that passion attracts passion too.
Yeah,
and so and it's motivating.
Absolutely.
As different as each of our, I guess you can call them, coping mechanisms are, it's crazy how they have the same goal as well. Because, you know, we're both trying to process life and process what we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis when we go to work. And we refer to the outdoors, which you said you refer to the outdoors as well. But we go hunting, and we just kind of get away from it and concentrate on that when you concentrate on the literary form of it. So I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah, and I know, like, hunting for me, what we show on our pages, and guys who are hunters know this, there is so much more unsuccessful trips than there are successful trips. And I know you know that from this past year.
Yeah,
you had
100%.
You had a lot of them.
So many.
But
it's ridiculous.
But, I mean, I don't regret any trip that I take.
No.
Whether I get something or not, yes, my goal every hunting season is to put some meat on my table. You know, that is a pro of being a hunter. But I love going out there. It is a different world, like you said. It's away from everything else, and it's just it's therapy.
It's a way to escape.
It is. It is an escape. And look at that as a good or a bad thing. Our wives might look at it as a bad thing, but I mean, that's what it is. And I know with Fall Obsession, you know, we try to produce content and stuff around hunters and everything. There's so many times I just want to throw the camera in the freaking garbage can and not take it with me. You know, we have to video our trips and stuff like that. We have guys that are our quote unquote cameramen on some trips. But there are trips I have to take trips every year where I don't worry about it, or I don't think about it. I don't care if I see anything.
I think that is part of the process, you know. Like you and not pulling it over to the writing world, is you listen to these greats. They talk about how many times they've been rejected by publications, or how many short stories that they just threw away into the trash. And I can tell you, there's so many nights that I write pages and pages, and I don't even know where they're at anymore. You know, but it was at least an ability or time for me to just escape with whatever I'm going on, kind of just vomit on the page, whatever it may be, to just get that out of me. Yeah. And then I don't have to worry about it anymore. It's just like the outdoors; it just clears your head.
Yes.
And the job that we have and the personalities that we have, we whether we want to admit it or not, we become very invested in what we're doing, and so that emotions get involved within it, and settling down, getting that sense of calm outside helps you out, or just a release, like the writing would be for me. Working out is another one. Like there's tons of different ones that these releases of just dumping whatever you have kind of that you're carrying on you is incredibly necessary within our job.
it's important to have that in your life regardless of what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it is important for first responders, military personnel, folks like that, absolutely. But, I mean, there are stresses and difficulties that come with any job out there. And having that escape, having that therapy, whether it's riding, whether it's hunting, whether it's something completely different, that is important for just a healthy lifestyle in general.
Well, yeah, I guess I kind of want to ask you this because I know I deal with it personally. Is like riding was my escape at first when I first started doing it, and then now becoming a business owner. I'll say being a business owner has been the most stressful thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
I've been to combat, like in the thick of it. I've been a firefighter and paramedic. Like I'm a father, I'm a husband. But being a business owner, man, that's stressful, and you have to escape. And then what sucks is like when you become a business owner within something that you love, and then it's like, okay, is this a job? Is this my hobby? Is this still my passion? So you gotta answer those own questions on your own. But it becomes kind of less of an escape at times, and that's what kind of is unfortunate. But you were talking about like different jobs. Like I couldn't imagine being like an accountant somewhere, or working at even like doing the same thing every single day, whatever job that might encompass. It's like, no, I don't want that at all. And so you still have to have a release if you're doing that as well.
Yeah.
And but yeah, as a business owner, like again, that's the most stressful thing I've ever done. And so I was able to get away. I went skiing over the back in January, or the beginning of January. So like that was a huge release for me, and that's outdoors too, you know. And so you got to find ways to cope.
Yeah. And also find that balance too, like you said, because you sometimes when we take what we love and try and make it a business, you know, we're working our hearts out. You have to find that balance of, okay, well, is it a business, or is it, you know, something that I need to do to escape?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I like what you said about you got to figure it out when things start mixing, because I know for me, like, Fall Obsession has been this, and we've talked about it on the podcast before. I'm not here to talk about our company's history, but it's been an evolving organization, a process, and I know there's times where I'm just like, I want to quit. I'm done. I just want to be a hunter, and I'll turn over to somebody else, and I'll be a field staffer. You know, I mean, I'll do something like that. But it's just because, I mean, there are days like yesterday. I spent a majority of my day doing administrative stuff for our company, and then we had a conference call at 8:30 at night to talk about stuff, and that goes long. And I mean, it's just there's the exhaustive side of it. There's also the rewarding side of it when your hard work pays off.
Absolutely.
And that's what I guess keeps me motivated.
Oh yeah.
Because like all the projects and stuff we have in the works right now, once we start seeing those come to fruition, we'll be like, okay, it was worth it.
Yeah, as a creator, man, there's nothing that beats seeing a product come out and seeing the reception people have, and that is a huge motivating factor. Like I said, the very first thing that we put out was our first poetry book, Fact and Memory, and seeing how well that went, and then to even go further back, how well my first article went, or how well that went, is like that feeling I have is what keeps me going, because now we've been able to provide that feeling for others, and then every time we finish a product, I get that feeling again. So all that hard work eventually pays off, but you do have to remind yourself that, because it'd be way easier just to be a writer or a field staffer than it is to be the owner. And but again, that passion is what attracts other people to want to come in on this on their own time. And you're at the beginning of it, because eventually, yes, it will pay off.
Yeah, and you get to the point, and I know we're all there in our own ways, but the point where other people rely on your passion for your hobby, which is now your business, to keep going. Because I know you have other guys that write for you, and without DRC, there goes a platform from them.
Yep.
And like us, we have all of our pro and field staff guys. Without Fall Obsession, there goes their opportunity to share content, articles, reviews, all the stuff that they're involved in.
Yeah. Then that's something I kind of want to bring up and then kind of pass it to y'all, because I kind of want to hear it too, is like within Dead Reckoning, what I feel is separating us is that we are part of our business and the publication process. Like our works have been published through our company, and like we see anybody that we're working with as like kind of like a friend and business partner all together. And so when you work with like a big publishing company, like you're just a number. You're just kind of like a wheel, like a cog within the system. You're just part of it. And as soon as they get your stuff, you may not even get a rejection. You may not got any feedback. Maybe you get the approval and they just get it and they're like, all right, up to you to put it out there. Where I've been able to design book covers, do whole formatting with the author themselves. I'm sending them drafts of each cover beforehand so they can kind of give their inputs. They're within that creative process. And then once it comes out, they understand that they are working with a smaller independent publishing company, that, hey, the work is kind of on you as well, but we're bringing in more people. And so Leo Jenkins, now you know David Rose, now you know David Rose, now you know Tyler Carroll, now you know Tyler Carroll, and so forth. So that's where that collective mindset comes in. And so that's what I feel separates us as a publishing company, is because that passion, and yes, it is a business, but it feels more of like a team effort. Is that kind of what you guys have been trying to get at as well?
Yeah, it's very applicable to our pro and field staff programs and everything like that, because I mean, you can go out there and look at all these other companies and their staff programs, however they have it structured, and if it's for, you know, and not calling anybody out, but companies that have big programs like, you know, Realtree or Leupold or these big names, you're a number in their system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're just the same as everybody else. You get the same package everybody else has, and all right, however they have it structured. But with us, it's a lot more intimate. It's a lot more, you are plugged in. You are a part of this family.
Mm-hmm.
You are a part of this brotherhood. All of our field staffers and pro staffers talk to each other. They interact with each other. They go in, whether it's here in Texas or on the, like last week we had a hunt in Colorado. A bunch of guys went on. I didn't get to go, but a bunch of guys got to go, and it's that interaction, that brotherhood, and they've said it themselves is it's a family, is what it is. It's not just, you're not a number in a machine, and that's been really cool to see the brotherhood side of it evolve and everything. And I mean, we give guys the tools to make that happen. But I mean, it's on them to get with each other and do stuff, and so it's really cool that they've had the drive and the want to do that, and hopefully we can capitalize on that even more in the future. But and that's what we try to do, and we keep them involved and updated in company business and stuff that's going on, and get guys together, work on projects, and really try to grow that. And one thing that really made me proud of Fall Obsession and the culture that we've created was, I believe it was last year or so, when we sent out, every year we send out like a survey, like, okay, what do you think of our program? What can we do better? What can we change? You know, any suggestions? And one of the questions on there was, compared to other companies, bigger companies, programs, how do you guys rate ours, or in comparison? And every single one of them said just as good or better than big name companies out there. And again, not to knock on them, but that made me proud that an organization as small as ours can have that kind of reputation.
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to that brotherhood and that culture that guys are able to build, you know, using tools. And I know, like, you're talking about being more interactive with your riders and stuff, and yeah, it's the same deal.
Yeah, I wonder if that pulls from the community and brotherhood aspect that the fire service kind of instills in us, and the military instills in us, because, like I said, how I've always said is, like, I do better when other people depend on me, you know?
Right.
Like, I can be completely content just kind of chilling, doing my own thing, being a field staffer, you know, just doing whatever, but, like, when the pressure's on me to, like, kind of rise, like, I like that pressure, and it's probably due to being a paramedic and medic in the Army. I've been put under the pressure and come through and felt like I did fairly well. And so I think that community where, like, I like the people that I'm working around with. And so, like, again, like, we want to rise up together. And I really think that that's what attracts people, is the community aspect. And I think big businesses are starting to understand that. But once you get so big, you do just become kind of a number, and that'll kind of just be their downfall, I think. And that's how us staying intimate like that is it's incredibly important to do that.
Yeah, and that's going to come with, you know, just being able, at least for us, I'll speak for ourselves, being able to evolve with the growth to be able to keep that culture going. And I know this episode is coming out here pretty soon after we record it, but and I don't want to give anything away, but we're talking about, you know, creating a position, or basically having somebody in a role in different areas of the country to be able to get people more involved and get people together. And I think being able to do that will allow us to be able to grow even more and still maintain the same level of brotherhood, basically, and not get to that point where you're a number in a system type deal. So,
I think that's a good move.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, this conversation, I'm enjoying it, at least. Like I said at the beginning, kind of a little untraditional for our podcast, at least, but I like it. It's something different, and I think that a lot of people are going to benefit from it or find it beneficial for them. So I just said the same thing twice. So why I'm not an author, Tyler.
No.
Well, anyway, we're gonna break this into 2 episodes. So we got more on the agenda, more that we want to talk about, but we are going to wrap it up for this week. We're gonna come back next week and finish this conversation. I'm gonna try to wrap this up quick and get a start on the next one quick so that we don't lose any momentum. But want to thank everybody for listening. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you haven't already, go online, follow Fall Obsession. If you're a hunter. Check out everything we have to offer on social media, our YouTube page, fallobsession.com. That's our hub. It's where you can find all our content, provide some feedback on our podcast, or pick up some merch as well. We got some cool gear actually about to hit our store too that I'm pretty excited about. So, and then go follow DRC, Dead Reckoning Collective.
Yeah, Dead Reckoning Collective. Our Instagram is where we're most active, and that's just Dead Reckoning Collective. Facebook, Dead Reckoning Collective. The website is deadreckoningco.com. You can buy merch there as well. All of our books are on that website. We're going to be start doing a lot more journal entries and short story submissions. But the biggest spot to probably get plugged in on is the Instagram. That's where we put most of our notifications out.
Awesome. Yeah, go check them out, guys. Check out their YouTube also. They're
Yes.
getting that off the ground.
Yes,
so.
YouTube, Dead Reckoning Collective. We just started a war and literature series with 4 of the authors that we've brought into our community, and they're all very successful authors within our little area of our world, and it was really, really fun. I hope check it out, subscribe, like, all that jazz that gets it across people's screens.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, we are going to hang it up for this week, and we'll be back with Tyler again for next week's episode to finish up our conversation here. So you guys be sure that you follow our podcast, whatever platform you're listening on, and be sure that you tune in next week as we continue our conversation. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you later.